Tomorrow has already started, and tomorrow belongs to the fast. It's here, the deeply connected digital world, where success and failure move at speeds unimaginable only a few short years ago. Look around. Time is the hero or bad guy in every business story. Speed is the weapon of choice for a new brand of innovator. Inside big companies and inside small businesses, people are using ideas and technology to move people and markets, creating new business categories overnight. They understand that IT is no longer part of your business. It is your business. The single biggest strategic advantage you have. But if you want to push your enterprise and move the world, you have to do 4 things well. Transform to a hybrid infrastructure to create an on-demand IT environment. Protect your digital enterprise with a proactive, analytic-based security for strong backup and recovery. Empower a truly data-driven organization, one that turns information into insight, accelerates growth, and scrapes out value relentlessly. Enable a more productive and connected workplace and a richer, more engaging customer experience. This is the way forward in a world where the only constant is change. Are you ready?
Please help me welcome from Hewlett-Packard, Mr. Ramon Baez.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Wow, it's fantastic to be at the happiest place on the planet. Isn't it nice to be here again? Hey, was Dan great? Did he get you pumped up about the technology you're going to be seeing here in a few days? Days or hours? You're going, wait, it's only a 1-day thing, right? 2-day things? So it's a 2-day thing. And Dan presented only 1 day of... No, I'm kidding. Dan, you were great. Thank you so much. You know, Dan and Dwayne met with me in Las Vegas at our global partnership conference. And they asked if I would come back to this year's event. And I was rather shocked because last year they pulled me off the stage with a fire alarm right in the middle of it. So I was really thrilled that I got to come back. So thank you, Dan and Dwayne. Great job. I've been in the role at HP as the global CIO 3 years this month. And as of last weekend, we split the company into 2 different companies. And I'll talk a little more about that later. But we now, instead of Hewlett-Packard, we're now HP Inc. and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. I'll be on the enterprise side of the business, so I will continue. If you need me, Dan, I'll continue to come back and participate. But with that, I just wanted to share with you the last 3 years, we learned a lot about transformation. We've learned a lot of what we needed to do to change not only the technology, but to change the hearts and minds of the organization and have an impact on the culture, as well as being much more outward focused from an IT organization. And I don't think you need to be in a technology company to be very outward focused. I think because of the video you just saw, IT is becoming the business. I really believe we all should be very outward focused. I think we could have that kind of impact. So what I like to do is start off and set the stage for you about digital disruption. Dan talked to you about some great examples. He talks a little bit about Uber. You know, what I love about Uber, we're in that organization, we're in that mindset. If I can't get my company in my car to my house in 5 minutes, I'll cancel them. It's sad, but that's the mindset they've set up. The guy that can get there in 3 minutes, I'll let it go. But then if you don't know, if you cancel within a certain amount of time, then they mess up your rating, so be careful with that. But it's incredible how Uber, just with the technology isn't that amazing, believe it or not, just the standard technology of what's out there today has disrupted the taxi business. It's just amazing. A couple months ago, I was in Frankfurt, and I was speaking to a crowd about twice the size, about 800 people. I guess not twice the size, about 800 people in Frankfurt. And it was unbelievable. I brought up the word Tesla. You could hear a pin drop. Because what I told them was, who in here 5 years ago thought some little company in Palo Alto, California, was going to disrupt your luxury car market. And again, you could hear a pin drop. And I said, I just screwed up my whole presentation. These guys are going to listen to another thing I'm going to say. And then I told him, I said, well, I just want you to know I happen to drive a car that's built in Stuttgart and makes a lot of noise and uses gas. But the reason I brought Tesla up was it wasn't so much that it was an electric car. They changed the whole experience. The way you buy the car, how you get your upgrades, how it adds capability over a weekend right from the internet. That's the experience that they changed. It's just not another electric car, which is a pretty remarkable automobile. But it's the whole thing. So what we're seeing are these digital disruptions more out of the e-commerce area, where companies out of using typical e-commerce solutions are going into spaces that we wouldn't think they would go into. And I'm going to talk a little more about this, about a company called Dock to Dish. But before I do, just one of the things that, Dan talked a little bit about this, about being a disruptor. How many of you want to be a disruptor versus being disrupted? That's what you need to think about. It really is the survival of the fittest. It doesn't mean you're the strongest. It means you are the one that's the most adaptable. And as IT leaders for your companies, that's what you need to be thinking about. How do you change your mindset to be the kind of leader in your organization that can help your company through this new style of business? This company, Dock to Dish, I had the opportunity to meet the CEO of the company, Paul Menta. And it's rather shocking to me how minimalist use of technology is disrupting this whole marketplace. Now, if you think about what you're going to see, I'm going to show you a video, and what you're about to see is technology allowed us to do all the fishing we wanted to in our oceans here in the United States, ice everything up, and ship it overseas and have it processed and brought it back. That's what technology did, and it disrupted local fisheries all over the United States. What you're about to see is the exact opposite.
Sometimes disruption actually returns us to a simpler life. Today, many businesses are using technology to bring us closer to local food. Dock to Dish is part of that movement.
Dock to Dish is a new model that's taking everything from an old model and just making it really easy.
In the same way guys are bringing vegetables off their farm to farmers markets, well, we're now working on the ocean side of it.
Up to 90% of seafood eaten in the U.S. is imported, which means it's been frozen and shipped long distances. On top of that, American fishermen sell about 1/3 of their fish to companies that process it overseas. Dock to Dish is eliminating these inefficiencies and giving fishermen a convenient alternative to sell their product locally.
Nice. The chain of command here is very short, and you get a great product.
It goes from the fisherman to our hands, and then the hands of either the chef or the cook at home. The industrial machine can never deliver what we're delivering, and when I call the industrial machine, what I'm talking about, it's the major supermarkets, and it's all the industrial suppliers, even to the smaller restaurants.
Dock to Dish seems to be a way to preserve our fishermen and increase the consumption of our locally caught fish. And that's kind of what it's all about, providing sustainability to an industry that needs to be revived.
Delivering fresh fish daily requires precise tracking of inventory and a coordinated communication platform for fishermen and customers. Every day, Dock to Dish sends out email and text alerts to their members and member restaurants.
Hey, Tony. Coming in about an hour, got about 150 pounds of grouper.
It begins with the phone and somehow ends with the phone or the computer because I need to know what the fishermen are doing.
With all the technology, it just streamlines the process a little bit more.
We can drop it off that same day, straight from the boat to the dock. It doesn't have to go into a cooler for a night. It doesn't have to get processed anywhere else.
All the fish we sold before they started all went to Miami. Now it all stays here.
The ability to turn a simple idea into a new service has never been easier or more accessible. The Dock-to-Dish app allows them to collect and share data and replicate their business model around the country. Their locations in Montauk and Key West have already served thousands, and new communities from Boston to Santa Barbara to Fort Lauderdale are requesting to start their own Dock-to-Dish.
When we first started this business, the people who didn't want us to succeed reported us to the federal authorities and told them that we were selling fish unlicensed off the back of boats. We had like 6 feds raid us. We said, "Why did you come?" And they're like, "A lot of people do not like what you're doing because you are changing the playing field here."
I think Dock-to-Dish is going to explode. Just from the excitement we've seen from the local people, I think that's a contagious thing.
The sky's the limit, and I'm going to feel really good about it at the end of the day. And maybe I've left something for my son to look at and aspire to and go, wow, you can do anything and make a difference.
I'm hoping this changes the world. I hope that my children remember this.
Welcome to the idea economy. What will you think of next?
Welcome to the idea economy. I love that. That's what people like Dock-to-Dish, like One Kings Lane, like Vimeo, Uber, Tesla, Facebook, all these companies had an idea, and they're disrupting the marketplace. And the way we think about that, are you truly ready for this new style of business, which is enabled by IT? And as IT leaders, that's how you need to be thinking about this. And that's why we love working with partners like Arrow and Nth Generation, because they can take everything we've been talking about and actually work with you in a way, in a personal way, to make this impact. So again, do you want to be disrupted, or would you rather be a disruptor? I met with the tattoo guy, Paul Menta, the CEO. That guy jumps out of airplanes and from Key West can fly on a kite to Havana, Cuba. I mean, he's one of those guys. He owns a distillery, and he's a restaurateur, and he's a consultant. The man has ideas like you couldn't believe. We shared, well, he had his burger and I had my burger, but we shared a meal together. We broke bread together. It was a Wagyu burger in Aspen, Colorado. And I'll tell you, I didn't want the conversation to end. But those are the types of people that are constantly thinking about the next big thing. And that's how we need to be thinking about it. And the beauty of it is when you work with a company like HP, they get this stuff. They get it from the beginning to the end. And the way we think about this is in these 4 pillars. And it's all about these customer business outcomes. All of us need to be driving these things. And Dan talked about this earlier, but I'll tell you, when I came on board, the first thing that I needed to do 3 years ago was, how do I change this complex environment that's still complex? That's the reason for the split. But how do we change this complex environment and make it so we're more flexible? How do we reduce cost? Even though HP went through a massive IT cost reduction for 5 years, when I came on board, I didn't feel like we were done. There was plenty more to do. And the reason we wanted to do that was, how do you take that money and throw that into innovation and coming up with new ideas and automation? And I'll talk a little more about that. And then how do we as IT leaders focus on revenue generation, but not just revenue generation, profitable growth going forward. That's what we need to be thinking about. And everyone is concerned about risk. How do we reduce that risk, and how do we protect the digital assets in the environment? And I'm really glad to hear that we're going to have panels later on. I'm glad Troy's going to be on the panel, and you'll have some real meaty discussions on security. Because I'll tell you, I talk to IT leaders all around the world, and that is the #1 thing that IT leaders want to talk about. The #2 thing that they want to talk about in regards to security is, how do you present a security subject to the board and answer all the questions that the consultant just gave to the board to ask you? We have to be prepared for that, right? And then we talked about experience. How do we use this platform, enabling the workforce productivity, empowering a data-driven organization, using all of that to improve customer experience and improving customer or employee engagement. Those are the things that we are very, very focused on within our company. But, you know, the pressure is high on us because we got these mega trends we all want to go do. We think that's the right thing to go do. It's going to save us money. It's going to reduce, improve automation. It's going to improve customer experience. And then we have all the enterprise imperatives that everyone on the board wants, or your executive committee may want. And you got this thing in the middle called legacy you're dealing with. And you never get the funding to get enough money to go invest in those other things, at the same time get rid of the legacy. So you need to come up with the building blocks to understand, how do I get rid of the legacy and so forth. And I'm going to talk to you about what we did the last 2.5 years at the company, so we were able to get the cost out the way we needed to, so we could throw more on the innovation side, so we could do more with mobility and services and automate our data centers and so forth. The first thing that we had to do is we went from 85 data centers down to 6, and they're phenomenal, these massive, beautiful data centers. But back in 2012, we were installing all these ecopods, deploying ecopods. Dan talked about them earlier today. We have these massive ones in Houston, Alpharetta, and in Austin. And the reason we did them is because we needed to augment, because we got, even though we had these massive data centers, we had power constrictions, we had power issues. So we needed to get these ecopods to help us supplement that. Well, that was not a good news story. That was a story that we were going to go from 6 data centers to 8. And that was not the direction that we should have been going. We really needed to think about, how do we stop deploying ecopods, and how do we go from 6 data centers down to 4? And we did that. That's exactly what we've done. And we are, as of now, we're totally out of our Alpharetta data centers from an HPIT perspective. So now we went from 6 to 4. And how we did that was by migrating everything that we had in the Alpharetta data centers and Houston and Austin onto our on-prem cloud. And deployment of technologies, what we've done with moonshot servers and so forth, that's allowed us to do that. But the whole infrastructure using the latest in 3-par storage, what we've done with the virtual environment, and what we've done with cloud system automation really helped us in an area where we can provision faster than ever before, where it would take us anywhere from 21 days to a month to deploy 1 server. That's where we were in December of 2012. Where we are today is we can deploy a server, compute services, in a matter of 4 hours within our environment. It used to take us 2 weeks or greater to deploy a database. We now do that in a matter of 5 minutes or less. The whole stack used to take 45 days or greater. Now we're doing that within 8 hours. And that's the capability that allows us to innovate faster. That's the reason this is important, to drive those business outcomes. But that's not enough. That's just the infrastructure side. And now what we needed to do was really be focused on this journey of how do you go from infrastructure as a service onto a platform as a service, and then change the culture where everything's this ITIL, everything's siloed, and so on environment to more of a development operating environment. And that's what we are now migrating to. Our IT infrastructure leader, Rich Gilbert, is driving this going forward within HP, on the HP enterprise side. And what we're seeing just on some of the very first applications on the legacy side, some of these apps that took us probably 9 months to develop, these are internal developed apps that you can't buy out there. And one of them, I'll just give you a name, it's what we use to search for people in HP. When you have 300,000 employees, there's a lot of people with the same names. It's kind of amazing how that works. But we took that app that took us 9 months to make in the new PaaS environment. The guys learned to use the tools over a weekend. Took them 2 days to build the app. They had to make changes to it. It took them 5 minutes. So then what they wanted to do was go to the old application that was built in the old methodology and put a hyperlink that says, if you're interested in using the new beta People Finder app, click here. Took them 30 days to change the old app. 30 days. That's what we were dealing with. And this is why people say IT sometimes is not an enabler, it's a disabler. It prevents processes from being done. Operating models can't change, or business architecture can't change because the IT architecture is so rigid. Because it was built for a period of time. It really needed to be built to be flexible, adaptable, and so forth. Well, that's what the journey to the cloud is doing for us. We view that we will have apps that will go through and be changed as we build them on our Helion OpenStack development environment, probably 30 times a year. And that's okay. Think about your smartphone. Do you care if those apps change? You probably have a setting on there where it just automatically updates, and it's great. And you don't even know that it's updated. And you go, oh, wow, Fitbit tracks water differently now, right? Well, there are services that you're going to have in your business that you don't want it to take 30 days to process a change. And that's the environment where we're headed to. The other thing that we were very, very mindful was the whole security environment. And I won't go too deep here, but in January of 2013, we brought on a new CISO. By the end of 2013, probably about the midpoint of 2014, we had hired an additional 250 cyber professionals. We needed to change the way we thought about and worked on security within our company. These are some of the metrics, and they may be a little dated, but it's sad that the bad guys have such a big business, and the business continues to grow. And think about it. It's not only retail stores that are getting hit, or financial services, or healthcare. The United States government's in the headlines. That's scary stuff. Those are the same guys that are going to come and sue you or fine you when you don't follow by their rules that they don't follow. It's amazing to me. We really need to get better at this. And what's sad when you go through the details of the problems, all it was they didn't do fundamental things. They just didn't do fundamental things in their environment. And that's why you really need, if you don't have a CISO, I liked what Dan talked about was that virtual CISO, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that we need to do fundamentally, or just the basics, and you'll protect your environment. But it's pretty sad that a majority of the companies, on average, don't even know the bad guys are in there. And Dan quoted the number around 243 days. I mean, they don't even know they're there. And what's funny is when they recognize it, they go, well, I was really fast in reporting it. Well, the problem was those guys, they came in, they pitched the tent, they moved in, they owned all of your IP, and you just found out. And then you'll be fortunate enough to maybe get a letter like I did the other day. It says, oh, by the way, we were attacked. We really feel bad about this. We'll be happy to get you protection. Like what? All my information is now out there. Now think about it. If you have a child and that information got lost in healthcare, they have their social security number. They have all that private information for the rest of their life. That's what we're up against. So really need to be thinking about how can we outsmart the bad guys here. And so I take the time to sit through those panels this afternoon, those workshops, because I'm sure they're going to be well worth it. You know, we thought about big data, how we deal with big data. Just to give you an idea, I have an infographic chart that I sometimes use in my presentation. When I started presenting that chart, the storage piece was about 43 petabytes, which when we first built that chart, we go, 43 petabytes? We had no idea. 18 months later, and every time I present that chart, I asked our storage guys to update it for me. We're now at 92 petabytes in 18 months. You're probably having the same situation in your environment. So big data, the volume of data is there. The variety of data is amazing, what they ask us to manage. But one of the things that I like that we've been able to do with some of the tools, and I'll just share on this quickly, is where our branding organization came to us and they said, we're having trouble really managing the gray market. And the gray market are partners that are out there that are not sanctioned and they're selling services or hardware, and they're not putting the right solutions together, and it gives us, HP, a bad rap. They may sell it at a discount and the person thinks they're getting a great deal, but the dilemma is it's not going to solve the problem you intended to solve. And so we wanted to be able to search the world and determine, can we find this quickly? Now that's big data. You know, we operate in 170 countries around the world. Well, we increased the productivity of this organization by 70%. We saved just last year, giving them those tools, using Vertica and Autonomy, using those tools, we saved them over $300 million. I mean, what can you do with $300 million? Probably a lot. And those are the kinds of things that you need to be thinking about. What's out there that you're missing in your organization that you don't probably have the right tools to maybe be a revenue generator for you, or somehow save money to the bottom line. And that's the way we think about big data as we go forward. Now, we are here at Disney, and I just thought it would be really good to share with you something we did with Disney. You may not know this, but our very first customer when Hewlett-Packard was founded in the garage in Palo Alto was a company called Disney. And we are still working with them. And what I'd like to do is share with you a solution that's an end-to-end solution for something that you would think, wow, that's really a great idea. Again, because of the idea economy. But even old companies like HP and Disney can come up with some real great ideas to make children happy.
Come to this happy place. Welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
Walt Disney's vision was to create the finest in family entertainment and places where families could come together, escape the real world, leave their troubles behind, and immerse themselves into magic and memories. And obviously today, and certainly moving forward, technology plays a major role. HP helped us drive our focus on delivering an incredible PhotoPass product for our guests.
Disney PhotoPass is the service that helps capture memories. We would much rather the guests live in the memory than actually have to be in the position to record those memories.
So HP Enterprise Services had to help Disney develop a platform that allowed them to add new products.
One of the ones we're particularly excited about is video. At the Tower of Terror, we're catching them as they're dropping down 13 floors. We're capturing a moment and an emotion that a guest just cannot capture. Or it's with a PhotoPass photographer, where we're taking a photo with them with Tinkerbell. The level of trust that they put in us to capture the moment is something that we take very seriously.
So all that media is up on their PhotoPass account, and they can personalize those products.
HP helped us deliver an end-to-end integrated solution across our platform.
Disney's relationship with HP has spanned 75 years, including the famous classic Fantasia.
Disney's about creativity and imagination. HP is about innovation and invention. We can do amazing things when we put those qualities together. When I see the children and the guests and the excitement that they're having being in the park, and they don't have to worry about technology, they don't have to worry about taking their own photos, it's being captured for them. It's about enriching that guest experience.
Knowing that we're capturing those moments, and they're gonna sit on someone's wall or someone's mantle, or they're gonna show their kids, and they're gonna show their kids' kids, that's gonna bring them back to that vacation, gives us all a huge sense of pride in what we do.
This past January, I was fortunate enough to bring my wife here to Disneyland with my 4-year-old grandson. The week before was his 4th birthday, and we were invited to the birthday party. And I told my wife, said, do we really want to go to the birthday party, be one of many? Or do we want to take him to Disneyland and just do a one-on-one? And guess what he wanted to do? So we had a blast. My wife's actually visited him today, and she's asking, Noni, where's Poppy? I want to go to Disneyland. And she did not tell him I was here because I'd been in trouble. But it just shows you the breadth of what we can do from an end-to-end solution at HP, of even thinking through taking PhotoPass to the next level. I was in meeting with the CIO for the parks and the enterprise services folks back in February, and we're already talking about the next ideas going forward. And it's just amazing how wonderful the two companies work together. But what's really makes me proud to be an HP employee is to know that we do these kind of things from the beginning to the end and work with great partners. So changing the face of IT, this is something that I've been sharing with IT leaders around the world, and this translates in Malaysia, Singapore, Beijing, Frankfurt, Munich, Shanghai, London. Now, I didn't have to use any translators in London, but the point is they all get it. Table stakes for us is being a service provider. Matter of fact, I just talked about how we are thinking about deploying services going forward. The thing that bothered me when I came into the organization 3 years ago was the focus of the organization was very inward focused. It was focused on only optimizing IT, and it wasn't focused on optimizing the business. Because I didn't know a business leader didn't care less about optimizing IT. Now, they do like reducing IT costs so they can use that money elsewhere. That they like to do. But they really can care less how you optimize IT. You really should be focused on how do you make them more profitable, how do you help them grow. And when we started talking about this back in 2012, I wasn't sure how the organization would evolve. And what I'm here to tell you today is it's amazing of the army of people within our organization that loves to talk to customers. They love to share all the things that we do. You know, like you're going to go through a cloud workshop this afternoon. We have folks within HP IT that love to have that discussion with our customers on just what we had to go do and what we're thinking about for the future and so forth. So it's really taking IT and making this a knowledge center so we can enable business performance and innovation across the board. That's how we've thought about this. And then as we think about the IT leader, we really were focused on IT leaders that had the business in mind. And in some cases, it was really easy. We promoted from within, and in some cases, I needed to go outside of the company to get a different mindset, get people that had a more external view of IT and what they did at other businesses so we could bring that into HP. But the point is, what I'm seeing from our leaders that run functions and business units, they love when they have an IT person that speaks the language of the business. I almost said the jargon of the business, but speaks the language of the business, or understands or speaks in their jargon, if you will, and then can come back to the IT function and translate that for the rest of the organization. And that's what we're seeing, these professionals across the board, the different types of training we've done. We've had 9 different attributes that we were focused on over the last year and a half that we've run thousands and thousands of IT folks through so they can prepare themselves for this new style of business enabled by IT. If you're not doing that within your organization, you're missing an opportunity. And that's what we've had to do. And what's wonderful on our social network within the company is they talk about it. I mean, it's one of the highest communicated thing that they talk about is the training process that we're going through. And we call it Jedi. It has nothing to do with those guys in Star Wars or here at Disney, but it just happened to be the acronym we used, and I wish I could tell you what it stands for. It's something like joint, educate, and do, and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line, it really is changing the mindset of the business, or the IT folks supporting the business. You know, you're going to be here for the next couple days, and it's a huge investment of your time. And you're going to talk to, of course, Arrow and many of the partners of theirs. But on behalf of HP, I want to thank you for your time you're spending here, because we know that, I know as an IT leader, to be out of the office for 2 days is tough. And to be very, very focused and not being pulled out because there may be an outage or an issue that they need you for, and so on. So we thank you for being here, and I want to thank our friends from Nth and from Arrow one more time, and really am glad I got to be here one more year. So have a great time this next few days. Thank you.